welcome the one, the only, Tyler Shaw.
Hey, good morning. So, like Travis said, I am Tyler. I'm the director of Village Kids. If we've not met before, and I'm really, really excited to be here with you this morning. This past 4 days at Camp Village Kids, we had some amazing kiddos, and we had some fantastic volunteers. And we knew that at the end of the day, not everyone would be able to be here and hang out with us during camp. So we thought we would bring some of that fun to you guys. So if you're a kid, and I asked them to do this during camp, so don't be like, oh, that's crazy. If you're a kid, can you just stand up on your chair for me and say good morning? It helps me to see that you all are here. It makes me feel better. You say good morning to me. Say good morning. Hi, kids. Good morning. Good morning. Hey, guys. Okay, sit back down on your bottom so that your mom doesn't get nervous. Now, if you are an adult, if you want, you can also stand on your chair, but you could also just say good morning. Good morning. Good morning. No one did it in the first service either. No one wanted to stand on their chair as a grown-up. So I am really pumped to be here, and the only way we're going to have like the most maximum amount of fun this morning is if you all don't just like sit there and stare at me like this while I talk, because I'm not used to that. I'm used to a room of kiddos who are talking to me and talking around me and moving and shaking and wiggling and giggling and answering the questions when I ask them. And so I hope you drank your coffee, and I hope you had your donuts, and I hope you got a full night's rest, because we like to have some really big fun, and we're going to have some big fun in here also. I also want all of you grown-ups to just like take a big deep breath with me. I'm glad your kids are here. I'm glad that they have wiggles, and I'm glad that they have giggles, and I'm glad that they're going to move around and talk. It's going to make me feel better. I don't want it to make you feel weird. That's my kid right there who was touching communion like 3 seconds ago. It's okay. It's okay. I am glad you all are here, and I'm glad your kids are here, and we're going to have a blast. So now that the housekeeping is out of the way, over the past 4 days, we have played and we have sung, and we have learned all about how incredibly good God is. In fact, our memory verse all week was from Psalm 34:8, like Shelby said. Now, if you are one of our kids and you learned it all week, you can do it with me. It says, taste and see that the Lord is good. Blessed is the one who takes refuge in him. And every day we came into camp, we came ready to learn how we could grow closer to God. And we heard some really incredible stories, and they were all from the Old Testament. So we learned that God always makes time for us, no matter what, just like he made time for Jacob in the middle of a desert, even while he was like sleeping on a rock. And we learned that God makes us stronger together, just like Moses was stronger when he listened to his father-in-law and he asked for help. And we learned that we make God known when we share our story, just like the writers of the Psalms who passed their stories down through the generations with their songs and their poems. And we learned that God gave us gifts to make a difference, like the women who saved Moses' life when he was just a baby. And that's the story we're going to explore today. But really, what we learned was that God is always with us. He is always good. And he doesn't ask us to be perfect before he shows up. And he doesn't wait for us to have every story in the Bible memorized. He is good today, and he was good yesterday, and he'll be good tomorrow again. But before we get into this like big monumental task of like easily peasily understanding how good God is, I think that we should play a little game. Would you all play a game with me? Fantastic. So we played a lot of games this week, and we want to share one of our favorites from the week before I start. I do want to say I do need participation. I need adult and kid participation. And I'm going to need teams of grown-ups and kids that are going to line up behind these buzzers. And I'm going to say a lyric line from a movie or a musical. And the first grown-up to hit their button sounds like this, or like this, is going to get a chance for their kid to tell me what movie or musical that line is from, okay? So the team at the end and most points wins. I'm also not really competitive. I forgot to keep score last time. So if you are in the audience and you want to know who wins, I suggest You keep score while we go. So I'm going to need kid and adult teams. If you're a kid with your hand raised, make sure you have a grown-up that wants to play with you because I need you to be a team. You can come play. Nell, you can play. Who's coming with you? Fantastic. Hey, if you like Disney, this will be good for you. Yep, Jessica, you can come, and you can bring them both. That's fantastic. Henry Anderson, you guys can play. Fantastic. Oh, is Mom gonna play? You get come play. Okay, you have a grown-up with you? Yep, fantastic. You can play. Let me see how many people I have before I decide. Oh, don't hit the button yet. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Fantastic. I need 2 more teams. Oh, are you going to play? Yeah, come play. You can play together. Fantastic. Oh, the churches are going to play. Fantastic. Now, here we go. I need you all to line up. This is 1 team, right? This is 2. This is 3. Okay. Watch out for the cords when you come up, and you're going to be on this team, okay? Fantastic. And then over, that's 4. I'm a great counter. 1, 2, 3, 4. Fantastic. I need 1 more. I need 1 more team. Go ahead. Haley, you can come. Oh, fantastic. So there should be 5 teams on either side. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, fantastic. You guys are going to go right here. Now, spoiler alert, if you were here during camp, I changed the songs.
I knew all of them.
I changed the songs. I picked different ones. Okay, are you ready? What's going to happen is your grown-up's going to hit the buzzer. The kid is not going to hit the buzzer. And then your kid is going to have to guess what what movie the song is from, okay? Okay. Are you all ready to start? I'm excited. You've got a friend in me. What movie is it from? Toy Story 1. Toy Story 1. Fantastic. You'll get another chance. Go to the end of the line. Good job. Are you ready? I've got my gadgets and gizmos aplenty. The Little Mermaid. Good job. Okay, you ready? It says, when will my reflection show who I am inside? No? You all don't know it? Hey, anyone in the audience know what that's from? Yell it. Mulan. Okay, that's a good job. Okay, go to the end. You'll get another chance. Are you ready? It says, this one's a little harder. Ray, a drop of golden sun.
From Mary Poppins.
Oh, really close. You want to steal it?
Sound music.
The Sound of Music. Dad was singing it. He was singing all the lines. It's fantastic. Okay. We finish each other's sandwiches. We finish each other's sandwiches. Frozen. Good job. Okay. You ready? It means no worries for the rest of my days. The Lion King! Hakuna Matata! Okay. I am not throwing away my shot. Hamilton! Hamilton! Good job. Okay, this one's a newer movie. Can I get a Chi-Who? What's that from? Moana what? 2. Say Moana 2. Moana 2. Moana 2! Oh, I know. Hamilton's a good one. Okay, we're almost done. We have this time and then one more. Are you ready? It's a heavy gift. Oh, or no, it's a heavy lift with a gift so humbling. It's a heavy lift with a gift so humbling.
Encanto.
Yes, it's Encanto. It's one of the lesser known, we ain't talking about Bruno's. Okay, you ready? This is the last one. This is the last turn. The sun will come out tomorrow.
Sun will come out tonight.
that tomorrow. Annie! Good job. Hey, can you give them all a big round of applause? Yep, hit it one more time. Good job. You all, good job. That was fantastic. Give them all another round of applause as they go back, because they're so cool. I know you all couldn't hear it, but if the kid didn't know it, their grown-up was over here going, the sun will come out tomorrow, so that they could figure it out. It was very cool. So if you're like, oh, what does that have to do with God? I'll tell you, don't worry. Just like the songs that get stuck in our heads from shows and movies, God's people have passed down stories in songs like the Psalm of our Memory verse for as long as they could. So that was a way that they helped each other remember the stories of God. But I will not sing the rest of the sermon to you because I don't think you want to hear that from me. Now, this summer, we've been in a series called TLDR, which your hip children taught me. That means too long, didn't read, which makes a lot of sense, right? Because all of these stories that we've learned about this week and that we're going to learn about today are found in the Bible, and the Bible is a really big book. It's really big, and it's really long, and it's actually 66 books long, squished together into one big book. And there are poems and stories and parables and true historical events that at the end of the day all point us back to a loving and gracious and super, super cool God. And all week we were in the Old Testament. And I think the Old Testament gets a bad rap because it can be a little dry. There are huge lists of names that are impossible to pronounce and rules that are really hard to understand, and all of these kings that at the end of the day were just kind of the worst. So the Old Testament can be hard. But without the Old Testament, the New Testament basically means nothing. Because without getting to see all of the ways that God's people were broken and lost and disobedient, you'll never really get to understand the magnitude and the bigness of Jesus' sacrifice for us. So we're going to give the Old Testament a try, and today we're going to be in Exodus. So if you have your Bible with you, we're going to be in Exodus 2, 1 through 10. Pop over to Exodus. It's at the front of the Bible, and then you're going to find the big 2 and the little 1. And then you'll be there. Now, when we get here in Exodus, we're in Egypt. And our buddy Jacob's family, the Hebrews, they were living there. And the new Pharaoh, who is the ruler of the land, was super unkind to the Hebrews. He forced them into slavery, and he did his best to wear them down. But no matter what he did, those families, the Hebrews, their families kept growing. And so he made a really terrible rule, and he said that every baby boy born into a Hebrew family couldn't stay with their family. The Pharaoh thought that this would stop the Hebrews from becoming so powerful that they could fight back and take over the land that he thought was his. And so this wasn't a good time for God's people. They were scared, and they were sad, and they were hurt physically, and they were hurt mentally, and that's where we start our story. With God's people broken, and God's people scared and hurt, which is not an uplifting start. But stick with me. So we're going to start in Exodus 2, and here's what it says. A man and a woman from the tribe of Levi got married. She became pregnant, and she had a son by her husband. She saw that her baby was a fine child, and she hid him for 3 months. After that, she couldn't hide him any longer, so she got a basket made out of stems of tall grass. She coated the basket with tar. She placed the child in the basket, and then she put it in the tall grass that grew along the banks of the Nile River. The child's sister wasn't very far away, and she followed to see what would happen to him. So let's pause here just for a second, because first, that baby, spoiler alert, is Moses. That baby was Moses. That baby that they put in the basket turns around to be Moses. And second, has anyone in here seen a baby before? Yeah, everyone, 100%. You've all seen a baby, at least in a picture, some way. They are not the quietest things, are they? No. Maybe you got one of the ones that don't cry, but mine weren't that kind. But this mom just couldn't follow the rule of the land, and she had to try to save her baby boy, so she hid him as long as she could. She took care of him, she kept him quiet, but around 3 months in, she realized she couldn't do it anymore. So she made a basket. Now, this passage makes it seem like this basket is like one of those little wicker things that you find at the basket aisle at Goodwill, you know. But it was probably much more sturdy than that. And she coated it with tar, which is actually waterproof. So she took what she had, she made it as safe as she could, and she sent him off. But Moses wasn't alone in this basket floating down the river. Who was there with him? His sister, that's right. His sister. And she followed him closely. And let's see what happens next. Pharaoh's daughter went down to the Nile River to take a bath. Her attendants were walking along the riverbank, and she saw a basket in the tall grass. So she sent her female slave to get it. When she opened it, Pharaoh's daughter saw the baby. He was crying. She felt sorry for him, and she said, "This is one of the Hebrew babies." And someone found him. The basket held and the tar kept him safe, and a princess found him. But this princess was the daughter of the man who was the reason that the baby boys weren't allowed to stay in their families in the very first place. And this could have gone two ways, right? She could have seen the baby, known her dad would be mad that he was even still alive, and she could have just tipped that basket into the water and she could have walked away. But she didn't. She saw that baby, who was probably dirty and crying and hungry by that point, and she felt sorry for him. The Message translation actually says that her heart went out to him. So let's see what her compassion and pity meant for this baby's story and keep reading. Then his sister spoke to Pharaoh's daughter. She asked, "Do you want me to go and get one of the Hebrew women? She could feed the baby for you." "Yes, go," she answered. So the girl went and got the baby's mother. Pharaoh's daughter said to her, "Take this baby and feed him for me. I'll pay you." So the woman took the baby and fed him. So Moses' sister, she really bravely speaks up, and she speaks to the Pharaoh's daughter and arranges for her mother, who, again, spoiler alert, is Moses' mother, to take care of that baby. And Pharaoh's daughter agreed. So now not only was Moses safe, he was back in the arms of his biological mom being fed and cared for, and that mom was also being paid to do it. And here's where we end. It says, when the child grew older, she took him back to Pharaoh's daughter, and he became her son. She named him Moses, and she said, "I pulled him out of the water." So his mom cares for him. She feeds him. Then she returns him to Pharaoh's daughter, who eventually names him Moses, which in the Hebrew tradition means drawn from the water, just like he was. So Pharaoh's cruel order doesn't win. Moses was rescued and even turned around and became part of Pharaoh's own family. Talk about karma, which is not a cat. Instead of the water in the Nile being the thing that would take this baby away from his family, it saved his life. It kept him afloat until he landed somewhere safe, which is a pretty wild story. Pharaoh had just said, "All the baby boys, they have to go. They can't stay with their families." And this mom says, no, this is a fine child. I won't do it. And his sister bravely speaks up, and the Pharaoh's daughter takes him in, and he lives on to become literally Moses. Now, before we really dig in here, I want to acknowledge that the women in this story are not named. But if you're in Village Kids, you know names are super important. We call everyone by their name, but a little later in Exodus, we do learn 2 of the 3 of their names, and I want to use them because they deserve to be used. So the mom in this story is Jochebed, I think. Sounds right to me. And she's married to a man named Amram, and the sister, her name is, someone said it earlier, Miriam. And the sister's name is Miriam, but we don't get to learn the Pharaoh's daughter's name. These 3 women, they defy all of the odds for this baby, don't they? They're different ages, and they're different nationalities, and they're different social standings, but they all play a part in fulfilling God's great plan for this baby's life. And none of them knew it while they were doing it. Because in the moment of this story, it seems like God is silent. It seems like he may not even be there. This whole nation of his promised people are in turmoil. The infant boys of his people are being forced out of their families, out of his family. And where is God? You don't even see his name in the scripture that we read. And if you haven't heard of Moses before, he was a pretty cool dude. And he did some pretty big stuff in the plan that God had for his people. He partners with God to do crazy things. He splits the sea. He led the Israelites out of slavery and into freedom. He went up on the mountain to get the 10 Commandments. He led tons and tons of very grumpy people through the desert for a really long time. He was brave, and he was faithful, and he was wise, and he was God-fearing. As a staff, we heard a quote recently. It's from Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, and it says, "The most beautiful people we have known are those who have known defeat, known suffering, known struggle, known loss, and have found their way out of the depths. These persons have an appreciation, a sensitivity, and an understanding of life that fills them with compassion and gentleness and a deep loving concern. Beautiful people do not just happen. Beautiful people don't just happen." And Moses wasn't just born staff in hand, leading all of these people through the hardest times in their lives. He had seen defeat and suffering and struggle and loss. And he didn't get to be one of the most known Old Testament names on his own. Speaking of Moses not getting to be, well, Moses without help, what about these 3 girls? Moses' mom. It doesn't tell us how she feels during all of this, but what do you think she felt? She was pregnant, and she was giving birth, and she was being told the whole time, hey, if this baby is a boy, you can't save him. He can't stay. He's going to get thrown into the Nile. How do you think she'd feel? I heard some words. Could you say them again? How did she feel? She was scared. Anything else? Was she just scared? She was scared, and she was sad, and she was overwhelmed, and she was grieving. She was all of it. And she very likely had every emotion that's on that emotion chart that you may have on your fridge, or that we see like fully animated and come to life and inside out too. She felt it all. She felt everything. And then there was Miriam, who scholars say was likely anywhere from 6 to 12 years old. Is anyone in here between the ages of 6 and 12? Raise your hand. If you are between the ages of 6 and 12, look at you all. You are brave, and you are kind, and you are smart kids. And Miriam was too. She had this brother that her mom just put in a basket and sent down the river. And if you have a younger sibling at home, you know that there is something in all of us that says, hey, you love that little dude. You have to take care of him. Even if he breaks your stuff and knocks down your toys and takes your dessert, whatever they do. And I'm the youngest in my house, if you can't tell. You want to take care of him. And Miriam wanted to take care of him, and she did. She was brave, and she was scared, and she followed that basket down the river. And when the Pharaoh's daughter saw the basket with her brother in it, she spoke up. She used her voice, and she used her smarts, and she made sure that he was going to be cared for. And finally, we have Pharaoh's daughter. We never learn her name, but I think we can all agree to just call her really brave, because that's what she was. Moses would have just kept floating down that river, but instead, the Pharaoh's daughter uses her social status and her name for good, and she defies her dad to save Moses' life, which in this story is really cool, but don't go home and tell your dad, well, Pharaoh's daughter did it, so I will too. So don't do that. You should probably listen to your dad. He has really good ideas. That's right. Okay, do you guys know that song, Mary, Did You Know? That Christmas song, it's always bothered me. Because yes, she did. An angel came down and told her. She did know. He was all like, don't be afraid. And she was all like, okay. But do you know who actually didn't know? Jochebed and Miriam and Pharaoh's daughter. They did not know. They, in fact, had no idea. Now, Moses' family was Hebrew, and they believed in God, and they were followers of his, and so I'm sure they prayed, and they hoped, and they crossed their fingers and toes, and they prayed that that basket would hold, and that the crocodiles maybe wouldn't be hungry that day, and the right person would find him, and that the journey alone wouldn't kill him. Have you ever seen a 3-month-old baby? Yeah, there's not a lot of survival skills going on there. They're like honestly just figuring out how to hold their own heads up and what to do with their arms and all of their legs. So sure, they probably sat around the dinner table that last night together, and they may have prayed for protection over Moses, and they may have trusted God to take care of him and to protect him. But unlike Mary, they really didn't know. But they did it anyway. Do y'all know that Nike slogan? Just do it. Yeah, it's true, but I think it forgets the next part, the part where you just do it scared, just do it unqualified, just do it when all you can see is that first little tiny sliver of the first half of the first step of a really, really long staircase. Because guess what? You are never doing it alone. Remember earlier when I said, is God even in this story? Is he there? We don't hear from him. We don't even hear his name. Well, I think he's in it all. Every sentence, every choice, every twist and turn down that river, because God is always working. God is always there. And that doesn't mean that it will be easy peasy. God doesn't promise that everything will be perfect and hunky-dory and nothing will go wrong, but he does promise that he will always be there. We all have things we have done scared and sad and lonely. And I am not here doing this job on this stage because I was not scared. I am not here because it was easy or because I knew it would work out. I'm not here because I make more money doing this than when I was a nurse. Or because this is like the family business, because in fact, this is like the opposite of the family business for the family I grew up in. I'm here because God said, if you do this, I will be there. Because I get to look my kids in the eyes and tell them how sweet it is to live into the calling God has placed on your life, even if you're scared. I'm here because God asked and I said, no. And God asked and I said, no. And God asked and I said, will it be easy? And he said, no, but it will be so, so good eventually. And I think that's the story of the girls in this passage. No choice they made was easy. As Moses' mom waterproofed that basket the best that she could and pushed it down the Nile, I can imagine God whispering in her ear saying, it will not be easy, but it will be so good. And as Miriam spoke up and risked her own life to make sure her brother was okay, I can imagine God whispering in her ear, you will have to be brave even if you're scared, but it will be so good. As Pharaoh's daughter picks that baby up out of the water and looks at this boy who is supposed to be thrown into the river, I can imagine God whispering in her ear, you can make the right choice, even if it goes against everything that your family has taught you and everything your family believes, and it will be hard, and it will be so good. Now, I love my job, but I love being a mom even more. I have 2 kids. Sawyer is 4.5, and Karis is 1.5. They should be right behind me. Oh, there they are. They're so cute. They're fantastic, and they're the best. And if you didn't know, I take no credit for how cute they are. They are both adopted. There they are. Which means their birth moms didn't have the support or the income or the safety or the capacity or the security or the stability or insert thousands of other different circumstances to raise them on her own. And instead, they, 2 of them, chose Chris and I to do it for them, which means I have had the very distinct honor of two women looking me in the eyes, handing me their days-old baby to raise as my own for the rest of my life. Talk about humbling. Talk about the mess of humanity. Talk about Satan telling you that you'll never be good enough to make that sacrifice worth it. And Moses is one of the OG adoptees, if you didn't know. So I am deeply acquainted with some of the women in this story. I am Pharaoh's daughter, raising a child up the best that I can, hoping that what I have to give is enough. And I am in a lifelong relationship with two Moses' moms who looked at their baby and then said goodbye because it was the only way they could be safe, protecting them by letting them go. Adoption was and is and always will be one of the hardest and best and messiest and holiest things I have ever done. And in my own personal experience, in the thick of it, you can feel so completely alone. You can wonder if there is an end to this tunnel you are walking through. So first, I love talking about what adoption looked like for our family, if you want. And there's other people here that I know love it too. But second, in the loneliest parts of our journey, in the sadness and the chaos and the mess and the uncertainty that it brings, I have never felt God as close as I did then. And I think if you want God to be there, He will be there. But guess what? I also think if you don't want God to be there, He's also still there. So if you're in a season of begging God to show up, of begging Him to be there, of begging, please, God, show up in my marriage and in my family and in my work and at the breakfast table and in this addiction that just won't let me go, if you are begging Him for a big grand gesture, for the seas to part or the bush to burn or the manna to fall from the sky like it eventually does for Moses, if you are begging Him to say, hey, you, take off your sandals because this is holy ground, like He eventually does for Moses, I beg you to look down, because sandals or no sandals, this is holy ground, because God is working in the in-between. He is working as you push whatever your metaphorical basket is into the Nile, wondering what will come next. He is there when you feel brave enough, and He is there when you don't. He is there weeping as you weep, and He is celebrating the wins that you haven't even seen yet. Holy ground is all around you, because God promises us that He will never leave. He promises to sit in the mess, and He promises to sustain us through it all. And I think our three friends in this story took God up on that promise. They had faith in the promises that God had made to His people long, long ago, that their disobedience to this man-made king's rule would be met with the sovereignty of God, that their faith in letting their baby go would be met with the promise that God would be with them, that their grief and their fear would be met with God's unending comfort and sustaining peace. And God still meets us today. He still promises to sustain us today. He shows up in the good and the bad and the ugly. And we're invited daily to sit in the presence of God, lay our mess at His feet, and trust His promises to be faithful. And one of the ways that we get to do that each week is through communion, because that table in front of me is a physical reminder of the promises that God made and then wove throughout the whole 66 books of the Bible. His promises to be faithful and loving run through every story from beginning to end, when you can see Him working or when you just kind of have to hope that He is. Our communion servers today are all kids and families and volunteers who in some way participated in camp this past week, and I want to invite them forward to get set. These volunteers and these campers are really so excited to serve you this morning. And when you come forward, they're going to hand you a piece of bread, which represents the body of Jesus, and you're going to dip it in a cup of juice, which represents the blood of Jesus. And we remember that we are loved so much by God that He sent His Son for us. You can also take this chance to kneel at the kneelers up here, which are off to the sides today because my Lucky Charms and my waffles are where they usually are. So if you're looking, they're over here. And you can ask him to meet you where you are and to maybe even meet him halfway. Or you can sing as loud as you possibly can because Chris is not here today. Loudest in the room is up for grabs. And worship God in a way that shows him that you are thankful that he will never leave or forsake you no matter what. The choice is yours. But first, will you all pray with me? God, we are so thankful for the chance to be together this morning. We are thankful for your grace and goodness and the love that you give us freely. We are thankful for the ways you have shown up for us from the very, very beginning of time, for the ways you still meet us today in the mess of life, day in and day out. I pray that we are able to go from this place willing to be brave and scared because you promised to be there with us through it all, that we are able to share your love with everyone around us. We love you. We pray these things in Jesus' name. And everyone said, amen. The table is open. These stations are open. And it's freely available to everyone. Come as you feel led.